Hello and welcome to the Kentucky Academic Standards and Alternate Assessment Overview. This overview is the first in a series of trainings designed to assist special education teachers responsible for instructing the revised Kentucky Academic Standards and Alternate Assessment Targets. In this training series, you will be exploring the revised Kentucky Academic Standards in relation to alternate assessment targets and resources available to teachers to help you deepen your understanding of the standards, big ideas, and key concepts. Please contact me, Cheryl Mathis, for additional information. This webinar was developed by a task group from the Kentucky Special Education Cooperative Network. Please feel free to contact me, Cheryl Mathis, for additional information concerning alternate assessment. Let's take a look at today's agenda. Take a moment and read the 4 targets of the day and then identify for yourself which of the targets you are most interested in learning about today. You may pause the video if you need more time. Students who are participating in Kentucky Alternate Assessment will receive instruction in all Kentucky academic standards. Teachers are responsible for modifying grade level content to make standards accessible for students based on best practices in instruction for students with moderate to severe disabilities. For the purpose of assessment, students will be assessed on the alternate assessment targets. The alternate assessment targets are what is being assessed. It's just a subset of the entire set of standards. Like taking a temperature is just a small measure of how we know someone is healthy. The work we are sharing today is part of the Kentucky Department of Education's larger work on supporting students who are participating in the alternate assessment. As teachers of students with moderate to severe disabilities, we have specific assessment targets we are working towards to help us ensure our teaching and learning for students is on track with national norms and expectations. In his June 2020 presentation, KDE Alternate Assessment Coordinator Kevin O'Hare shared some key updates. In the next few slides, we'd like to highlight the big ideas that will help us all be on the same page. To develop the alternate assessment targets, a year-long process was put in place. Starting in September of 2019, a group of MSD teachers, KDE content specialists, special education staff, assessment and accountability consultants, along with regional low incidence consultants and content experts, came together to review the standards and narrow down key targets specific to alternate assessment. This work included meeting to analyze and prioritize Kentucky academic standards for each grade level and content area. Let's talk about alternate assessment targets. An alternate assessment target represents limits to a selected Kentucky academic standard. An alternate assessment target may reduce parts of the standard with specific guidance to what an assessment item could represent. Not all Kentucky academic standards selected for assessment will have an alternate assessment target and may display the language, "No limitations. All parts of the Kentucky academic standard are eligible to be included as an assessment item." This would mean that the entire standard is eligible in its entirety to be used in the development of assessment items. And note the key word there is assessment. So now let's talk about instruction. Please note that in terms of instruction for students participating in the alternate assessment, all Kentucky academic standards will be instructed. Students participating in alternate assessment no longer have a separate set of standards. Students participating in the alternate assessment will receive instruction in the same Kentucky academic standards as all other students. On this slide, you will see the content area, the number of standards assessed in that content area, and the grade level in which those alternate assessment targets are assessed. A notable difference is that writing and science will have 6 standards assessed, whereas the other content areas will assess 10 content standards. Another noteworthy difference is science. Science standards will remain the same as in past years. Furthermore, keep in mind as you review the standards that not every standard will have an alternate assessment target, as we discussed in the previous slide. Since this is a pre-recorded video, take a moment to think about what content areas that you will need the most support in. You may pause the video if you want a moment to think about that. So this year, the AAAF, otherwise known as the Alternate Assessment Accountability Folder, will no longer be required by the Kentucky Department of Education. However, districts may require the AAAF to be maintained by you in your classroom. The best way to figure this out is to contact your DOS. So if you're not sure at this point if you will be required to maintain the AAAF, I would probably pause the video here and maybe send an email to the Director of Special Education in your district so that you can begin maintaining that if you are not certain. Also, keep in mind that districts may require a variation of the AAAF folder, so it's really crucial at this point for you to know as to whether you're required or not required to maintain that folder. So this year, the school year of 2021, will be an operational field test. So this means the alternate assessment will look just like always as far as number of items, and alternate assessment will be part of accountability. The main difference is that if a test item is deemed spoiled, then it can be removed from accountability calculations. So really on your end, there's not going to be a whole lot of change. It's mainly on the end of KDE to figure out what items are deemed spoiled versus what items they will maintain for accountability. So another change is high school social studies assessment. And so that assessment will be moved from grade 10 to grade 11. Also, the fall testing window will be moved back to February to take the pressure off teachers and students as the school year has started in the middle of a pandemic. The alternate assessment window 1 will be February through March, and then alternate assessment window 2 will be April through May. So keep in mind, some documents have this color-coded so that you can tell which standards will be assessed in which testing window. So also, some of the standards will be assessed in both windows, and those standards are color-coded with green this year. So just keep that in mind as you look over alternate assessment documents. All right, so the next part, we're going to be looking at the Kentucky Academic Standards, Instructional, and Assessment Target Supports that we have created for you. The first thing that I'm very excited to share is the Kentucky Alternate Assessment Google site. So this Google site was created by the Kentucky Special Education Cooperative Networks in an attempt to provide easy access to key resources for the current alternate assessment standards. The first section of the site is the General Standards Information section, where links to resources not specific to any content area can be found. The site is meant to be fluid, and we hope to add resources as each region dives into the work. So please feel free to share resources and materials with me as you begin to plan instruction for the standards and assessment targets. So as you can see, the Google site is arranged by content area. The corresponding areas have links to instructional resources for each of the grade level standards targeted for assessment. Please remember that these resources are not meant to be an inclusive collection of resources, but simply a tool in helping teachers to begin instruction and to understand the standards more deeply. So let's pause here for a moment and explore the Google Alternate Assessment site. So within that site, you'll see some instructional documents. I'll give you a few minutes as you pause the video to review what is in that Google site, and then in the next few slides, we're going to go over some of those documents and explain exactly what the pieces and the sections within those documents mean. So pause the video here and take a few minutes to explore so you can be better prepared for the next few slides. So as you go into the Google site, you'll notice that there are instructional support documents for each content area. So in each reading standard, you will notice the following components in the document once you've opened it. The blue arrow points to the standard. This indicates the Kentucky Academic Standard typed in black and the alternate assessment target in red. You'll notice that the standard is highlighted in yellow, noting that it is assessed in Window 1. When the standard is highlighted in blue, it is Window 2, and when the standard is highlighted in green, that means that it's assessed in both Windows 1 and Windows 2. So, as you can see on the site and on the screen, the red arrow denotes the multidimensionality of the grade level standard. This box helps to focus on the intent of each standard as previously discussed. The yellow arrow identifies the prerequisite skills. These concepts may be helpful in scaffolding instruction to appropriately meet each student's beginning level of instruction. The green arrow denotes the key concept, skill, or the I can statement of the grade level standard. This box helps focus on what students need to learn during instruction. These statements are written in student-friendly format. The deep blue arrow points to a key vocabulary that students will need to understand to access the standard. The list is not exhaustive, and consideration has been given to the cognitive needs of the students receiving instruction. Teachers may need to scaffold vocabulary more depending on the unique learning needs of their students. The pink arrow denotes resources that can lead to a deeper understanding of the standard for teachers when planning instruction. Please note that kystandards.org is listed first as the key resource to begin your exploration in teaching the standard. Keep in mind that other listed resources may address components of the standard, but they may not include all required components of the Kentucky Academic Standards. So as you utilize these resources, be sure you are referring to the Kentucky grade level standards as you plan instruction. Take a moment here to pause the video and go review kentuckystandards.org. There's a wealth of information there, and I think you'll be happy you did. The deep green arrow highlights some instructional tools and resources that you can explore to help prepare for instruction. Other listed resources are not an exhaustive list, but do provide a great place to start in lesson planning. I recognize the need for building communication, visual, and behavior supports for many of our students, so additional resources will often be needed to support your instructional needs for your students. The instructional support document is a living document, so that means that we will be adding resources and building additional materials as we go along. So, as you've probably already seen through your exploration of the Google site, writing is formatted much the same as reading. And so, take a few minutes to review the writing as well. So, this slide basically shows, again, that writing is formatted much the same as reading. At this point, I've shared multiple resources with you, and you may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. At this point, I would like for you to pause the video and think about exactly how you can utilize these resources in your classroom as you prepare to instruct students. During your time of exploration of the Alternate Assessment Google site, this was one document that you should have reviewed. The standards for mathematical practice describe varieties of expertise that mathematics educators at all levels should seek to develop in their students. These practices rest on important processes and proficiencies with long-standing importance in mathematics education. The first of these are the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, process standards of problem solving, reasoning and proof, communication, representation, and connections. The second are the strands of mathematical proficiency specified in the National Research Council's 2001 report, Adding It Up, Adaptive Reasoning, Strategic Competence, Conceptual Understanding, and Procedural Fluency, along with Productive Disposition. In each math standard, you will notice the following components. The red arrow points to the standards. This includes the Kentucky Academic Standard, typed in black, and the Alternate Assessment Target, typed in red. You'll notice that the standard is highlighted in green, noting that it is assessed in Window 1 and Window 2. When the standard is highlighted in yellow, it is assessed in Window 1. And when the standard is highlighted in blue, it is assessed in Window 2. The blue arrow denotes the clarification of the grade level standard. This box helps us to focus on the intent of each standard, including potential real-world application. The yellow arrow denotes the connections of the mathematical practices. The standards for mathematical practices describe ways in which developing student practitioners of mathematics should increasingly engage with the subject matter as they grow in mathematical maturity and expertise throughout the elementary, middle, and high school years. It is important for all educators and practitioners to understand the mathematical practices and how they relate to instruction. The purple arrow denotes the foundational understandings of the target, which are the prerequisite skills. These concepts may be helpful in scaffolding instruction to appropriately meet each student's beginning level of instruction. The final section of the Math Instructional Support document is divided into instructional considerations. The gray arrow points to possible areas of difficulty or misconceptions for students in regards to the components of the standard. The other section lists possible tools and visual aids that can be used when planning instruction. Many of you are probably wondering what is coming next in the process. So we have developed this timeline with highlights when additional content standards will be released, as well as what training and materials will be rolled out to support instruction of the standards. This PowerPoint was put together by regional low incidence consultants throughout the Kentucky Cooperative Network. My name is Cheryl Mathis, and I am the low incidence consultant for Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative located in Hazard. If you need additional assistance and you are part of the Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative Network, please contact me. My email address will be listed on the screen. Thank you. I'll holler at you later.